Imagine a year where we review a nearly 3-hour-long slapstick movie.
What year is that, Sandro?
It's 1963. This is very out of character for us.
It's true.
Hello and welcome to Oldie But Goodie! It's Oldie But Goodie. Hi, my name's Sandro. I'm in a bar in Queensland, in Australia. After all the shit that happened last week, I needed a bloody drink, so I went down to Brisbane, to Queensland. I'm having a pint on the Gold Coast. Then I'm going to go to Hollywood on the Gold Coast in the 60s and see if it's any good. It's 1965. This episode, we're not doing any plot stuff. So I'm just hanging out in the bar. I'm hanging out in the bar and I'm going to talk about a movie all by myself to no one because I'm drunk.
Bartender! I demand a drink!
Oh my gosh, who's this loud person next to me banging on the bar?
Hi, it's me. I'm Merrill Thornton.
Merrill Thornton?
Oh, yeah.
I see nothing wrong with this. You can keep being loud in the bar. I'm just going to drink my pint of bloody Guinness.
What? I didn't know they had that in 1965 in
I don't know if they
Queensland.
had Guinness back then.
But then again, I'm a woman and I haven't been allowed to drink in the bars at all.
You aren't allowed in bars? Why?
No.
Is it because you got thrown out of too many?
Nope.
Is it because you are allergic to alcohol?
No, it's because of sexism. It's because of sexism.
Oh, it's because of misogyny this whole time. That's why you're not allowed in a bar.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
But I'm demanding that I get served.
I think you should have a drink. Bartender!
Oh, no, I'm a bartender. I'm misogynistic. I just hate women. I'm not going to serve you.
I'm punching you, bartender. Well, bam!
Ah!
I'm starting a bar fight. Are there any pies around?
No, but I've got a tactic to make sure I get served. Click.
Oh my god, you've handcuffed yourself to the bar.
Famously, I have. And, you, as a fellow bartender, you felt bad for me, so, you buy me a drink.
Yeah.
And that's the story. That's what happens. And then people are like, why can't women drink in a bar? That's fucked up, actually.
Exactly.
Actually.
Everyone should be able to drink at bars. Everyone should be able to spend their hard-earned money on bread water.
Absolutely. Better than fucking Tab, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet you the bloody pokies would let you in, but not the bars.
Oh,
yeah.
Scathing commentary about society, I think, maybe. Anyway, I've come out with a few books and other things. I was very active in the women's rights community. And I'm from Queensland, which is kind of great.
And you're from Queensland, which is probably the most sexist and racist state in
True.
Australia.
Yeah. So it's kind of impressive that I'm here and doing it here. On
Exactly.
1965, very, very famously.
Well, I certainly hope that Zach doesn't teleport into your body and male wash this whole episode.
Yeah, wow, that does add a weird sexist tone to this whole rest of this episode, wouldn't it? Didn't think about that one. Didn't think this one through, really.
You didn't really think this one through, did you?
Oh, well, I just wanted to mention Merrill Thornton because they seem like a really cool person. Speaking of which...
Oh my god, that little stuffed goob.
Why am I handcuffed to a bar?
You're fighting for rights.
What rights? I love rights.
Yeah. And speaking of rights, it's time to do The Great Race on the podcast for 1965. I love this movie.
Whoa.
That's my review. I'm done. Bye.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to talk for the next hour and a half because Sanjay just left the bar. Oh, he's back. He's coming back.
I'm back. I forgot my pint of Guinness.
Yeah. I was about to say he left his beer here, so he's definitely coming back. I like how that's your preferred beer in this scenario.
I guess. I've had a Guinness maybe twice. It's fine.
It's just fun to say Guinness. Yeah, I want a pint of Guinness.
Guinness was created in the 1700s, but for some reason I don't think it was available in bars in Queensland.
Yeah. I have a feeling.
What a feeling.
No. The bartender's definitely labeled it Guinness. It's definitely not Guinness, though.
It's just a brown ale. That's all it is.
No, but I'll tell you, Sandro, I quite enjoyed this film.
You quite enjoyed this movie, The Great Race?
I quite enjoyed this film, yes. You may be shocked, you may be appalled, you may be downing your Guinness because you can't handle the truth.
Oh, I'm so bloated now because I sculled my Guinness.
Your brown bread water.
Yep.
But this was actually really great. This was fun.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is what cartoon to live action should be.
Yes.
Although this movie wasn't that, it's funny because it got inspired into a cartoon itself because it's so cartoony. And we have, like, real life versions of, like, cartoons being made into live action. And this is what they should be. The sort of, like, ridiculous props and...
Well, I mean, the Flintstones was that, though. The one that we did in the 90s.
And it was great. And you guys gaslit me into giving that an oldie. But that was clearly a goodie. That was fun. I loved the Flintstones. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I think it's kind of bad.
We have to re-review it just so I can give it a goodie and be like, how dare you gaslight me into to giving this an oldie. But this movie was pretty fun. I like the wacky props, the just wacky situations, the characters just going with it. They don't really point it out. They don't go, oh, this is weird. They're just like, oh yeah, this is happening now. And it's funny. It's funny. The things they say, it's really funny.
Yeah.
The wacky hijinks. It's a lot of wacky hijinks. And
it's very wacky, yeah. Which makes sense that it would then inspire Wacky Races later on in the 60s, because it is very wacky. And then that probably inspired Speed Racer, which then inspired Fast and Furious. So it all comes around, really.
That's true. Speed Racer is the real Wacky Races, if you think about it. It really did just turn into Wacky Races, where they're like, the characters have superpowers now. They're flying in space. A pile driving submarines.
Yeah, but the thing with, like, it definitely directly inspired Wacky Races, because, like, a Dick Dastardly looks identical.
I thought this was a remake or, like, a live action of that film, like, that cartoon series, or vice versa. I didn't know they were separate entities. In my mind, I thought they were the same.
Yeah. Well, the story of this movie is there was an actual race. We're going to do non-spoilers, then spoilers. There was an actual race in 1908 from New York to Paris.
Wow. Okay.
And someone in it did dress all white. So that kind of inspires the great Leslie in this movie. Obviously, a lot of that race and what is shown in the movie didn't actually happen.
Wait, they didn't have a car that could shoot cannonballs and could go up 10 feet and could...
No.
There wasn't a king emperor?
There wasn't a weird third movie tacked on at the end of that race.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, this movie is kind of based off that race, very, very lightly based off it. But then this movie, then inspired the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Wacky Races, which again, like, Penelope Pitstop, she just looks like a Dubois.
Oh, absolutely.
She just looks like... It's the same outfit. It's the exact same outfit.
Yeah. That's why I thought they were the same. And then I looked it up because I was telling one of my friends about it, and they're like, oh yeah, that's the thing that inspired this one. And I'm like, you mean, like, they remade it into a cartoon? And he's like, no, they're separate entities. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. No, they're not. You're wrong. You're bad. You're dumb. And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh no. They are separate. That blew my mind, because they're exactly the same. They're exactly the same.
They are separate. And I think in the Scoob movie that came out during lockdown...
Scoob?
That terrible fucking animated Scooby-Doo movie, I think...
At least it had Scooby in it.
At least it had Scooby-Doo in it, yeah. I think in that one, they introduce Wacky Races' characters appear in that movie as well.
Oh, okay, that's
because they're trying to build a cinematic universe thing.
Oh, of course they are. Fuck me.
So, like, those characters are still kind of going, which is funny, because it all spawns from this movie. Now, Zach, The Great Race is a movie that I don't think anyone's nostalgic for, aside from me. For some reason, and I don't know why, for some reason my parents love this movie, and I don't know why.
I can see why. Why not, Sandra?
Well, I mean, because none of them were alive when this came out.
Yeah.
Like, my dad might have been a toddler, but just, like, this is not a well-remembered movie.
Well, it might be one of those things where it was played on TV.
It might have been a TV movie. Yeah, I'm just not sure how they found it. But not only did they not only find this movie and really enjoy it, but then when my parents had kids, they showed us this movie every year. We watched this movie for like 4 years.
You've been brainwashed.
Which is weird, because this is not, again, this isn't really a classic. So I don't know.
I disagree, Sandro. I think this is a classic on my one viewing of it.
I mean, it's a classic in my heart because I love this movie. I think this movie's great. I really enjoy it. It's very funny. It's also historically kind of important because when it came out, this was the most expensive comedy ever made.
Wow. Hey, well, there you go. Maybe that's it. Maybe they didn't Google it because Google didn't exist, but maybe they were just like, hey, what's a really expensive movie? And someone said, hey, this one's the most. And they're like, well, boom.
Exactly. Yeah, this movie cost $12 million when it came out, which in today's money is just over $100 million.
Wow.
Which is a very large amount for a comedy.
That's insane. But also, you can see it. The visuals in this film is awesome.
It's really good. It's really good. And it made its money back and then half. So it would have made about $200 million, which is, that's
wow.
That's pretty good.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I think this movie is it too long? Definitely. Which is interesting if you say that it isn't too long, because you're usually the one who says that, and then I disagree.
Yeah, no, it's definitely long, but it's like, what do I cut out?
There's a whole part of the ending that can be its own movie.
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true. This could have been split. You're right. You could split this into 2 movies, and then you've got everything in the movies, which I enjoyed, but there is an intermission.
There is an intermission, yes.
So you could literally cut it at the intermission or something. Although,
I mean, every time I've watched this, I do take a break during the intermission.
Okay, yeah. Very good, very good.
I don't know if you did. Oh, and we got to check, speaking of the intermission, there is an overture. Last time we had an overture in King Kong, you skipped it. What did you do this time?
I listened to it so that Jack didn't come into my room while I slept and powerbomb me.
Good. You watched the overture.
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
I specifically listened to the overture. I specifically listened to it because otherwise Jack would call me up. He's listening right now. He's bugged my room. He watches my every movement.
He does.
And he would be like, fucking watch the fucking overture.
Watch the overture.
No, it was good though. It was good. I listened to it.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
No, but I would have skipped it. Like, the overtures are nice, but I can listen to that at some other point when it isn't like a 3-hour film. It's always with why are the overtures on the 3-hour films?
Oh, because the 3-hour films were like road shows. They would take the film out on the road. There's an intermission halfway through it. It was kind of like an event.
That makes sense. The intermission is definitely a good idea.
Yeah.
More films need intermissions. They need to bring intermissions back, I think.
They do need to bring intermissions back. They do.
Because what's happened is films got shorter, but now they've started to get longer again, I feel.
Yes, they have.
Like, we've got a lot of long ones happening again, so we need to bring in intermissions,
Well, was Endgame the first time people started calling for intermissions to be back? I think it was Endgame.
Yeah. Because that's the problem, right? Right now, there's no intermissions, and I never bring drinks into films.
Exactly. You make and I do the same thing. A responsible moviegoer nowadays, all your favorite movies are 3 hours, which means you got to go thirsty the whole film. You don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, you got to go thirsty because if you drink it, an hour and a half later, the film's still going, and you're going to need a fucking piss.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, you're fucked.
Exactly.
So all I've got to do is eat the dry, salty popcorn and get those, dried up husks of lips afterwards, and you have to suffer, get those like rubbery gums because you can't bring a drink because there's no intermission for you to go piss.
Exactly.
We need those intermissions back.
We need intermissions back, especially if Scorsese is releasing 4-hour-long movies into the cinema, which, by the way, I want to watch, but I'm waiting for it to come out on video because I'm not sitting in a theater for 4 hours.
Yeah, what about Dune? You have to go see it. You have to. It is the law. You have to go see it in IMAX in the Super 3D edition with the 4D smell-o-vision. Like, you have to go see it.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't have an intermission, you're burned.
I mean, a Dune is like 2.5 hours. I think that's fine. But in my heart, Dune is actually 5 hours long because you watch part 1 and part 2 back to back as they're made to be watched.
Yeah. Well, you could say if you did it like that, then you would have an intermission in between, surely.
That's true. I think when I saw the Lord of the Rings marathon at the Astor, all of the extended editions, I think they put intermissions into each film.
Yeah, no,
for that.
Well, the Lord of the Rings, I think they actually had intermissions.
For the extended ones? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Like, they actually had things like that.
We need to bring them back. And I think the intermission in this movie, it's a good spot.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great spot. But here's the problem, like, so you've got your Dune movie. I'm still on the intermission.
Yes, you're still on the intermission.
I know. You got your Dune movie. It's 2.5 hours long. You do need it, I feel like, because it's, if anything over an hour and a half, you kind of need an intermission, right?
Okay.
Because it's at the hour and a half mark, I'd probably say even a bit less, that you need to go piss, right?
Okay.
So, you do it at like an hour 20, hour 10...
I don't know though.
Yeah, that's the tricky bit, right?
Because if you're saying anything over 90 minutes needs an intermission, then you could have a 2-hour-long movie. At that point, you've got an hour, and before the movie can really get going, you got an intermission. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think
maybe if it's 2 hours, I think 2 hours you can go without an intermission. 2 hours and a half, maybe intermission.
2 hours and a half, I agree with you. Well, that is the length of the Great Race. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, I think? Something like that.
Yeah. So intermission, maybe... Yeah, you have your intermission a bit later, actually. You could have it... You don't have to have it in the dead middle.
I think dead middle works. I think because we did The Great Escape, which is kind of funny that I picked 2 movies in a row that have The Great as the title. The Great Escape had an intermission exactly halfway through. This one's intermission is like...
leaning towards the end.
Yeah, there's like an hour to go after the intermission for this one, which I think works, because like you get into the groove of it, you're introduced to every element, and then it's like, here's a random cliffhanger.
I felt like I needed to go out to a vendor and buy a hot dog. Like, that was the vibe I got. You know? I felt like pulling out my pipe, going out buying a hot dog and yelling at a waitress. You know, that was the 3 things I needed to do, which I wasn't able to do. I wasn't able to fully immerse myself into the intermission, but I powered through. Which is why I watched this back to back. I didn't take a break. I powered through.
I did take a little bit of a break. I had to listen to the overture. I kind of skipped through the intermission, like, because you got the music during the intermission. I just kind of skipped through that.
Sandro, no.
I know. Jack's gonna come stab me in my sleep now. I don't know. I think the music of this, it's interesting because because it's the director and the guy who made the music. They're both from the Pink Panther. So you've got the director of the Pink Panther and Henry Mancini, who, like, I love his music. I really, really enjoy Henry Mancini's music. I just don't think the score here is great. I don't know. I don't think it's as good as it could be.
I would say in one scene, score's pretty good.
In one scene?
In one scene where there's a lady on screen.
Oh, yeah.
Singing a song. Yeah.
That's right. That's pretty good. I think we've probably said enough in non-spoilers that we can move over to the spoiler section.
Yeah. We've spent a while here.
The main character is Tony Curtis as the Great Leslie. Zach, my question is the Great Leslie meant to be a parody of James Bond or Elvis? Because it's both, right?
Yeah, I think there's definitely bits of both, but I think it's leaning more towards I
don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say I was going to say lead towards more James Bond.
Yeah.
But I remember Elvis did do movies, and he was very like that.
I think because, like, he's constantly kissing random extras and stuff. That's what Elvis...
Yeah, that's what Elvis did. He was a big womanizer. That was his whole thing. But so was James Bond.
So was Bond.
I think Bond's a bit with the whole, like, he's skilled at everything, you know? Like, he knows everything, you know, that sort of, like, jack of all trades, but actually just good at everything. But instead of being a secret agent, he is a pop star sort of thing.
Yes.
So you're right. I didn't even think about that, but you are right. It's like an Elvis / James Bond combined into one.
Yeah.
Made a racer.
Yes, he's just always... I do love how he is always wearing... white, and his clothing never gets stained throughout the entire movie. It's very funny.
That is funny. Yeah. Well, are we out of spoilers yet?
No, we're still in non-spoilers.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Because it's funny, the environments they go through adhere to that, which is funny.
A fun fact about him, so Tony Curtis, he married Janet Leigh, who was the Scream Queen in Psycho, and together... they had a kid called Jamie Lee Curtis, who is Laurie from Halloween and other stuff, obviously. Kind of funny.
That's crazy. So he's the dad.
He's the dad,
of that
that's right.
famous... Oh my god.
Yep.
What a famous family. Actually, like, Mum's famous, he's famous, that's crazy. What an acting group.
Indeed. We've got Jack Lemmon as Professor Fate, who's fucking fantastic.
He's amazing. He's great. And I want to bring up this point, which is the villains are the most important characters in your films, right? And it goes from this, right? You've got your main character... and side characters. That's how it works, right? And I feel like side characters are more important than your main character. Like, for your main characters, they want to be likable, you're following them, right? And it's the interactions with the people around them is what shape them and, you know...
Exactly,
show them.
yes.
And the most important side character, I would say, is the villain.
It is the villain.
Of all the side characters, you know... I think the villain, being the main antagonist, you know, you have to deal with him the most. It's what shapes your main character into who they are. It's like how they interact with the villain shows you what kind of hero they are. And a lot of movies nowadays really don't, even after Endgame, which was, I would say Endgame's really good because they put a lot of emphasis on Thanos. They do.
It's one of the better villains of our current age.
Absolutely. And it shows, because those films were fucking great. I mean, the second half, he was a bit weird on the villainy, but we won't get into that. This is the Endgame.
We won't get it. It's a different character. They time traveled. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but anyway. The point is, villains are really, really important. I would argue the most important character in your film.
I would agree.
And films tend to forget that. This did not. This villain was, he was great.
Honestly, he's the antagonist, but I wouldn't call him a villain. I think Professor Fate, kind of a better guy. He's pretty vain, but the Great Leslie sucks, and I think Professor Fate sucks slightly less.
I would actually say he's not. I would translate his like anger and like things is just he hates Leslie because he's a smug prick.
Yeah, exactly.
And he just wants to really put him down a peg.
Exactly.
He's just like been driven insane because like the Great Leslie's just gotten lucky over and over again, and he's like really fucking pissed off with them. And so he's just like, he was a regular dude, but he's gotten so mad that he's just obsessed with putting him down a peg, which is why he's so upset at the end. But we'll get to that.
Exactly. He has got a sidekick, Max. Push the button, Max. Push the button, Max. Classic line.
Max!
Truly incredible. Max is played by Peter Falk. Zach, we've done so many of his movies on the podcast before.
Yeah, Peter Falk, of current meme fame currently.
Is he in current meme fame?
Yeah. As the detective.
Columbo.
Columbo, yes. The Columbo meme. I mean, it's a little bit of an old meme now, but it still checks out. I still occasionally see a Columbo meme. Just one more thing.
I've never seen Columbo. I've always wanted to. But he is in, he's also in it's a mad, 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 mad world, which, look, it is 4 hours long. I do want to do it at some point.
Yeah.
We did kind of skip over it this year, but I do want to do it at some point. But Zach, Peter Falk, he's also the grandpa from Princess Bride.
No.
Which is kind of funny because in this movie, we've got a scene in The Great Race that is a parody of Robin Hood, which Princess Bride is also a parody of Robin Hood, but also a parody of this. And there's also got this guy in it.
Whoa! You just you triple shotgun ultimate body slam my brain.
Yeah. There's so much in this movie that inspires Princess Bride and then also Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's just so weird that we managed to review the Robin Hood movie from the 30s that then inspires this movie, and then we've also done Princess Bride, which we've already reviewed, and that it all inspires each other, which is very funny. The other main character is Maggie Dubois. She's Maria in West Side Story. That's where she's known from.
But also a great, strong female lead. There is problems, though. There is trouble in paradise.
Yeah, so her whole character is that she's kind of a suffragette-ish.
Yeah.
She's suffragette adjacent. She wants to be a journalist and is basically doing everything she can to do that.
But, journalists are all male. And there is, a small subplot of, women's rights.
There is a very small subplot, yeah.
Which is very funny because the guy who's running the newspaper, his wife is the leader of the feminist rights group. So she essentially forces his hand, but it's very funny.
It is quite funny. That's one thing that I remembered about this movie is that it's this epic slapstick race just kind of set to the backdrop of the feminist movement.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It kind of takes a weird backstory and they don't treat it very seriously, which I feel might discredit this film a bit.
I agree.
But it ends with women's rights are good. We should have women's rights, right?
I mean, obviously, yeah.
Oh, you disagree, Sandra? Oh my god. No. But it doesn't take it too seriously. And it almost because the main character, spoiler, doesn't believe in women's rights, which is a bit of a hurdle for his character arc.
That's kind of his whole character arc, is that he falls in love. This is basically his whole character arc. He falls in love and starts to treat women as people.
And we've had that trope happen before on a certain sailor. But then he's but I like you, so I'll let you fight for women's rights. I'm not going to fight for women's rights because I don't care. In fact, I hate women's rights. But I'll go with it because you're with it. And it's that's not a good conclusion to your character arc. You should learn that women's rights are good.
I mean, I like that every character in this sucks, though. Even she sucks. She lies throughout the whole movie. She's not a super likable character. She's a likable character, but...
Yeah, she's a likable character. All the characters are likable, but none of them are good people.
They're all likable, but they all suck.
Yeah, you're right. The main character's not a good person. She's not a good person. I mean, the antagonist... technically isn't a good person, but I feel is a good person, but he isn't. I would say he's a victim of circumstances, and I'm gonna die on that hill.
I think the ending of the movie really shows that Professor Fate is a good guy, and we'll get to that. Yeah. We'll get to that later, because he just wants to win his own way.
Yeah, exactly.
He just wants to be a success. That's all he wants.
Exactly. We
We don't know what his family situation is like. They probably all hate him.
I mean, we see his house, and I'm gonna tell you, Sancho, it's not. He's a single rich child who was spoiled.
Oh yeah. The fucking house that he's in. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm going to give this a goodie. I was quite nostalgic for this. Haven't seen it in 10 years, and going back to it, I don't think it holds up. I don't think it's as good as the Pink Panther, which is it's the same team behind it, but it is very fun. It's probably too long, but I also wouldn't cut anything.
I split it into two movies. I think that's a great solution. as someone who has never seen this before, as someone who's just coming into it fresh with an open mind, I'll give this a goodie.
A goodie.
There's a little bit of problems here and there, but I think they solved it by just being like, hey, that main character kind of bad person.
Well, howdy there. My name's Sally McSeller, and I'm being held captive by the Daleks. They're an invading species, and they've told me that they're gonna kill Sandro and Zach unless you subscribe to patreon.com/OldieBuddyGoodiePod, where we have a brand new episode for you to check out right now. It is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, so the boys reviewed a movie from the 60s called Doctor Who and the Daleks, and guess what? It's pretty bad. Here's a clip. And there's two races on this planet, the Daleks and the Thals. The Thals are just
elves.
Just elves, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they're just elves. Sorry to interject, but they are just elves.
It's basically two sides of the same coin. The Daleks are all about war. The Thals are all about not war. They don't even want to fight the Daleks because they're happy just existing.
And the main crux of the movie is the Doctor convincing the pacifists to become murderous killers.
That's what the whole point of this movie is.
Doctor's not exactly an endearing character if you look at it from that angle.
I got a fact wrong. The movie isn't shit. It's fantastic. The Daleks, everything they're in, it's amazing. They won't shoot me. No, they won't. But they will shoot you if you don't go to patreon.com/OldieBuddyGoodiePod. Get those bonus episodes and some ad-free content. I'm a Dalek. Yes, I am. Spoilerinos, they're doing a big race, a big old race.
What? They're doing a race?
They're doing a big race from New York to Paris.
I thought this was just about a racism.
The Great Race. I didn't even think about that until you brought it up.
Yep. It's funny because it's racist in the film.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, there's a great race. What happens is we've got fucking Leslie.
Yep.
He's good at literally everything, apparently. And you've got our antagonist, mustachioed fellow who...
Mr. Fate.
Who's like, you fucking suck. And they want to, I believe they're holding the competition to prove which is the better car.
Yeah, so American cars are starting to be introduced because this is the turn of the 20th century. It's like
20th century.
1899 is kind of when this is set. The turn of the century, American cars are starting to be introduced, but all of the best cars are still foreign cars. You know, the German cars.
From European sort of cars. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like European versus American. Who can make the best car?
And so because they're American, they're holding a race with American cars to prove that American cars are the best. And it's a race from New York to Paris. That scene, though, where Professor Fate is there and he's like, oh, I don't agree with this. He's got this terrible Scottish accent.
It's so good. It's so good. And he's like, and you just try to pull on my beard like this. And he pulls his own beard off. It's so dumb.
That's great.
So,
it's great.
And then once he's discovered, he's immediately like, well, to the window then. And he like sprints across the room. He like jumps up on the table, sprints across the room, and like opens the window and like a fucking Batman villain. Like the Green Goblin, like, being discovered or something. He's like, yeah, and I'll get you, my pretties.
This is just a live-action cartoon. That's all this movie is. Like, it is so stupid.
I know. It's very cartoon-ish, which is, it's really endears me towards it, because it's just, but it treats everything like it's normal. Like, this cartoony-ish is normal, which is just great.
Well, there's even stuff like a character, because when Dubois is reporting on the race, she's sending photos back to the newspaper via carrier pigeon, and one of the carrier pigeons won't come inside, and some guy actually falls off the fucking building to his death.
Yeah.
The scene later, he's just fine. He's just got a bandage. Like, this is so silly, so cartoony.
That was one of the scenes I was going to bring up. The other one being the scene where they have a missile, and they try and shoot the missile towards Leslie, but it's a sound-guided missile. So Leslie has his motorbike, but then the villain goes off into his car, which goes bang, bang. So it's making more noise than the boat. but of course it's a missile, so it's not supposed to go on land.
Yeah.
But it does it anyway. It doesn't give a shit. It just the missile goes onto land like a land shark, going towards them. We see them turn a corner. We don't see them anymore, but we see the explosion. And the explosion is massive. It's like a fireball. It's like a nuke going off.
This movie's so ridiculously expensive, and it's just dumb shit like that it's expensive for. It's so funny.
Yeah. And then in the next scene, we see them, and they don't even have a bracer or anything. They have 0 injuries from this giant explosion. It was just they just got exploded. They got team rocketed, and they're fine.
They did.
It's great.
I mean, if we're going through it from the start, we've got the opening credits, which are very funny.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jokes in there, which is very Pink Panther. That's very Pink Panther, is having some funny jokes.
You've got, the picture of Leslie, and everyone's like, yay, yay! You've got Professor Fate. When he comes on screen, everyone's like, boo!
Boo, yeah.
Boo!
Yeah, which
was very silly. And then, of course, you got your female lead, and everyone's like, wow, wow! All the catcalling and other things is oh yeah, here we go. She does spend the last quarter of the film topless the whole time. They get into a fight at the very end. I'm skipping right until the end, and she just takes her top off for the fight, and I'm like, oh my god, we just got your top back on, lady. Come on.
She does spend the last bit of the movie just being a damsel in distress wearing undergarments. That is kind of...
Yeah.
I feel like the movie takes a while to get going. The race starts 40 minutes into the movie. The first half hour is a bunch of stunts that the great Leslie and Professor Fate are doing. The stunts are very funny, though. I love the recurring gag of all of the stunts that Professor Fate does. Always just send him into the same barn. He just crashes into the same barn a bunch of times, which is very funny.
Going on my theory, he is a single child rich boy, because he has a butler. He has Max. Max is great.
Yep, Max the butler.
He is the Igor of the situation. It's pull the lever, Crunk, and he blows up the barn.
Yeah.
And it's Max!
Yeah. He's always push the button, Max! And then it explodes, and he's Max! It's great.
Max!
I only... Because, there's a bunch of quotes and stuff that I say from this movie, and it was great watching it for the first time in ages and being oh, that's where it's from.
That's the context of this quote.
That's where it's from, yeah.
What are some of the quotes you say?
Well, push the button, Max is a big one.
Push the button, Max.
There's a point near the end where the guy who plays Professor Fate also plays a weird European prince who's just drunk the whole time. And he's throw more brandy. That one was quite funny. Kind of laughing in that voice is very good.
Yeah. Him playing the prince was really good. I love the prince, but we'll get to them.
It's just Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
It's literally, that's where Johnny Depp got the performance from. Just watching this.
Really?
I reckon. That's my theory. I reckon.
I feel the prince is a bit he's a different character type. Because he's the, happy-go-lucky sort of prince.
Yeah.
Whereas Jack Sparrow isn't exactly happy-go-lucky, I would argue. They're similar, though. They're very similar, though. Because Jack Sparrow, I think what happens with Jack Sparrow is you add scoundrel to that, right?
Yeah.
You add the golden boy scoundrel, and it adds this, 3-dimension to that character, right?
Actually, I do have a list of things. It's just 2.
Great list.
That I feel were inspired by The Great Race.
All right, go ahead.
Lazy Town.
Ooh, lazy. Yeah.
Professor Fate is just Robbie Rotten.
Yeah, okay. He's definitely more Robbie Rotten.
Leslie is Sporticus.
Yeah. Oh, he is a Sporticus.
That's right.
Who is a dumb fucking... Because no one gives a shit about fucking Sporticus. Robbie Rotten, though? Robbie Rotten is a great example of the villain is way more important than the other characters, right? 'Cause Robbie Rotten carries that series. I'm just gonna say it.
That is Robbie Rotten's show. Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. What an amazing man. I'm so glad the internet came together for him, and it has this iconic moment because he is a amazing man.
He is good. And my girlfriend has the other one.
Ooh.
The Great Race is just Meet the Robinsons.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
That's the origin story of the great Leslie and Professor Fate, is Meet the Robinsons. I think that's pretty spot on.
I see that. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's good. Good because one of them dresses in white and the other one's all black and he's evil, but not really.
Yeah, I remember when Sporticus and Robbie Rotten in Meet the Robinsons.
Exactly.
They met Jack Sparrow and they went on wacky adventures. Yeah, it was crazy.
There's just so many jokes to bring up that I'm like, it's just so random. There's a joke where we were talking about Professor Fate's house. There's the joke with the organ, how he's pretending to play it and then it keeps playing.
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite piece of organ music as well. I was going to bring this up because I listen to organ music as one of my random, like, you know how in these days it's like when someone asks you, what's your favorite type of music? And you go like, I listen to a bit of everything. Cause everyone does listen to a bit of everything. No one likes specific things anymore now that, we have the internet to expand your horizons. But organ music is one of my random ones. And that specific, song, Takota Frager in D minor or whatever the fuck it's called.
That one, yeah. The vampire one's what I call it.
Yeah, the vampire one. Exactly. Everyone knows it as the vampire one. Is one of my favorite, pieces. But he's playing it. He's tuning it away on the thing, and then Max comes over. It's like, dinner's ready, and so he lifts up his hands and goes over to have dinner. But it keeps playing because he doesn't know how to play the piano. It's just one of those auto piano organs, which is very funny. That's a great gag.
I love that joke. I also love the joke of there's like a moose head on his wall, and we see a scene where they get up from the dining table, which is where the moose head is, and they walk to the next room. And we see that, no, it's not a moose head hanging in the wall. It's just an entire taxidermied moose with a wall around it.
Yeah.
Which is such a stupid joke.
That's such a good joke as well, because it's just in the background. Like, they don't point it out, they don't anything. It's just like, it's there.
It's just there for no reason, and it's not even funny. It's like, it's funny, but it's not even that funny. It's just this weird, like, playing with your expectations sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's the subtle details that flesh out everything. This is very detailed. And because of the big budget, it's so detailed. Like, their front door is just covered with, like, go away and all that. There's, like, scrawlings of, like, no solicitors, all the stuff on it, you know. It's great.
So she shows up. She tries to join both of their teams, but they won't let her in.
Yeah, that's right. She attempts... Like, first she goes to, I think it's Leslie? First she goes to Leslie.
Yeah, Leslie's first, yeah.
Leslie tries to just hit on her because that's what Leslie does. He's a womanizer. And she's like, I'm gonna have none of that. Then they, like, fence. She loses, which is kind of sad.
That was such a bad joke where she's like, well, I came first in the women's fencing tournament, and then they fence, and then he wins, and he's like, well, if you came first in the men's fencing tournament, this would be a different story. And
I was like,
this is the bad joke.
Yeah. Again, it's like the main character just hates women. And then he tries to kiss her, and she's having none of it. But she handcuffs us. Her strategy for a lot of these situations is to handcuff things. She does it multiple times during the film, which is very funny.
It is good.
So she tries handcuffing himself to him, but it doesn't work. So she leaves. She goes to the bad guy's place, and she's like, hire me, but then they get chased around by dogs. They blow up the barn for a third time.
It's so dumb, and then she's thrown out. So she gets her own car, but of course the car, it doesn't end up going that well, but...
Absolutely, because the bad guy sabotages all the cars at the starting line, including number 5.
Yeah. It's a great scene as all of the cards from 1 through... Because there's 7 in total. Professor Fate, he's number 5. Leslie's number 6. And then she's number 7. We see 1 to 4 all breaking. They're all slowly breaking. And then Max is like, that was number 4. Next is car 5. The engine will fall out. Max. We're number 5.
boom, and then we see the engine fall out of the back of the car.
Which is very funny. And yeah, she ends up picking up a ride with Leslie because her car breaks down and everything. Leslie's already got a butler, Mr. Hezekiah, who's just a strong man. That's just what he is.
Oh, I love. Yeah. He's the strong man of this. I think he's less a butler, more of a sidekick.
Yeah, he's kind of like a sidekick sort of guy. Yeah.
He's because you've got the Max, who is clearly the butler situation, whereas Max is the sidekick. He's a strong man. And he's like, "What? Don't trust this harlot, the scoundrel.
Don't trust this woman."
Yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. Handcuff you to a train. Bye."
Yeah. He's Alonzo Hawke in Absent Minded Professor. It's the same guy again.
There you go. He's good.
He's really good. He was meant to be the original Perry White in Christopher Reeve's Superman movie before he was recast. And I've always said, and you'd know this, Zach, I'm always saying this.
Oh, absolutely.
He would be a good Perry White, this man, Keenan Wine.
You say it before every episode.
I've said it.
Until up to this episode, I've been really confused because I have no idea who you're talking about or what the fuck you mentioned. But now I finally get the context for it. I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, I've cut it out of every episode because it just doesn't make sense in the long run. But no, I can finally leave it in now. Yeah, the thing that I always say.
I love it. I'm just going to skip ahead again. I love it when he comes back because he gets handcuffed she handcuffs him to the train.
She does handcuff him to the train.
He's gone for a bit. But he comes back and the way he signals to them is he takes off his hat and shows his bald head.
Yes,
to be like, reflects. It's me, the bald guy, remember? And they're like, oh, I can see he's bald. I know who this is.
So funny.
Which was really good.
Yeah. So their first stop, because now that we're in the race, the movie's kind of like a series of stops that they have. The first stop that they have is a western town, and I was like, from the get-go, I'm like, the suffragette movement, yes, it was about women wanting to vote that they could have slaves. But it's kind of progressive. I kind of like that this is a part of it. We get a woman character who's actually written like a human. This is pretty progressive. There's nothing here that's aged too well. And oh no, they're being chased by Native Americans, which are just white guys in blackface.
Ooh.
Oh no.
Ooh. I mean, the movie does say that it was white guys in blackface.
It was the sheriff and a bunch of men, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't say those were Native Americans, which is better, I will say. Is better. It's still bad.
The joke is not that the blackface is bad, though. If the joke was that this is a bad thing that these guys are doing...
Yeah. Absolutely. But, the movie didn't try and say, oh, yeah, these people we've put in blackfaces are Native Americans, right? It's still bad. That's definitely the bit that's aged the most poorly.
And it makes sense that this is the part that is aged the most poorly, because I don't know if you noticed this, Zach, but this whole sequence is set on the set of Calamity Jane. It's the same town. It's the same bar.
Whoa! Yeah, I did notice it was the same bar.
Yeah. Which is funny... because during Calamity Jane, I kept expecting this scene. The whole time I was watching Calamity Jane, I was like, I swear that there's a bar fight in this movie somewhere.
I was going to say, the Calamity Jane scene with the guy singing on stage and the girl singing on stage is oddly similar. I'm just saying.
It's the exact same bar.
It's the exact same scene, except at the end of the other one, it's like, oh my god, it's a man.
Yeah. At the end of this one, it's such a great... So they go to this bar in this town, and this kind of racist-ish guy he's dressed up like a bandito. It feels racist, but he's not doing the voice, so I don't think he's meant to be.
No, it might just be an intimidation thing. Yeah,
maybe.
It might just be that the actor couldn't do a good voice, so they were like, just speak normally. But yeah, I feel like there is a little bit of subtle racism there, but I think it's just from the time sort of racism rather than active racism.
But yeah, then they have... It's a great action sequence where the great Leslie and Texas Jack is his name. They keep trying to punch each other, but other people keep getting in the way. And so we get this, like, Red Dead Redemption 2 fucking bar fight, me walking into a bar, this is what happens, where everyone's punching each other, everything's getting destroyed, but every time Leslie and Jack try to hit each other, something else happens and they get hit or...
But Sandro, why are they fighting each other?
Why are they fighting each other, Zach?
Well, because there's a lovely damsel who did a great performance earlier, who just so happens to be his girlfriend. But she's trying to hit on Leslie.
Of course.
Because who wouldn't? I mean, he's in all pristine white and somehow has not got a speck of dirt on him in the Wild West.
Exactly.
The wiki Wild West. But she sings a song, which is a pretty good song, I'd say. It was pretty fun.
The movie does randomly stop for musical sequences a bunch of times. I think that this is the best one.
I like the music, yeah. There was a line, we're ladylike until molested, and then we're on our own. And I was like, whoa,
yeah,
what?
We're ladylike until we're... What? Yeah. I think the song is about how men will show interest in a woman and then sleep with her and then leave her alone. That's kind of the whole point of the song. But the way that it's written does indeed make it sounds kind of worse than it's... Yeah.
But it's like, he shouldn't have had ordered a swing on me. Which is a great... The whole point is he shouldn't have tried to mess with me because I ain't some damsel in distress sort of thing, you know. That's the point of the song. So the point of the song was pretty good.
It's a fun scene. And I think the bar fight's pretty good. I do like how they just destroy the set. It's very funny.
Yeah.
The set's just destroyed at the end of it. And yeah, that is that sequence. The next sequence, they get rid of Hezekiah for a bit. As you mentioned, he's chained to a train. And they make their way over to Alaska.
Oh, yes. And unfortunately, I don't know if you know this, Sandro. This is a little-known fact, but Alaska's pretty cold,
It's pretty bloody freezing. So much so that Professor Fate snaps his bloody mustache off.
That's true. I forgot that happened. That's great. But this is the one scene where I could believe that Leslie manages to keep his suit all white because they're covered in snow.
This is the only scene where that makes sense. This is true.
Except, yeah, no, he probably would have still gotten stained in Alaska. Like, it probably would have got some dirt. Anyway, besides Leslie taking breaks during the race to get dry cleaning, they get stuck in the middle of an Alaskan snowstorm.
They do indeed.
And so they gotta huddle up for warmth. Ooh, gotta get under the blankets, bring a bit of champagne, you know?
Exactly. I do like how great Leslie just brings like 20 bottles of champagne with him.
Oh, absolutely.
Everywhere he goes.
Whenever he's with a woman, he just pulls out champagne out of nowhere. It's like, what? Where did that come from? Leslie, you have a problem, all right? Leslie, you can't just excuse this, you know? You need to see something somewhat about this. But he does explain it away by you would pour alcohol onto your car to keep it from freezing, right?
Yep,
so
that's right.
Should pour a little alcohol in, keep you from freezing, you know? Makes sense. But then they get interrupted mid-warming by an intrepid bad guy, and Max hitting the button again to fuck up the car. There's also a polar bear?
Yeah, polar bear randomly shows up, which I don't think there are polar bears in Alaska, but who cares?
Actually, Sandro, I think you'll find that polar bears do occasionally wander down to Alaska.
Okay.
And wander through there. And in fact, just recently, because of global warming, fun fact, global warming's happening, climate change, I should say, not necessarily global warming. They've started wandering even further down to Alaska, and there's been cases of them breeding with brown bears.
I know this.
And getting the hybrid bear. I can't remember what they're called.
That's right. Polar bear and grizzly bear. What are they called again? Pizzly bear, that's it.
Pizzlies! Good old Pizzly bears. Yeah, Pizzly bears. There you go. And all it does is make a super fucking jacked grizzly bear. Like,
they're so cute. I love them.
Absolutely. But they will maul your face off, Sandro, because polar bears are the biggest bears. They are giants of the bear world. They would fucking wreck a grizzly bear. And a grizzly bear is already pretty fucking big, pretty dangerous,
Yep.
pretty pretty squishy like a bug sort of bear. So now just make it bigger.
Yep.
And that's a danger. That's a big bear.
Yeah, it's a very scary bear. I like, though, speaking of climate change, I like how that movie... here's a fun segue. Speaking about the death of polar bears, I do like, though, how, the ice that they're on starts to melt.
That's true.
It starts to melt and then they start drifting towards Russia.
This movie was ahead of its time, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And they are stuck on an iceberg. And there's like a 5-10 minute scene of them panicking about like the ice melting and them all dying. But Leslie's a mathematician apparently, and he's like, "Well, I've calculated the odds actually, and by the time we get there, at our current rate of melting things," and we're all like, "What a fucking nerd."
So anyway, they eventually end up in Russia, and like Hezekiah's there and everything.
Hezekiah's just there, like just predicted they would end up. What?
Yeah.
What?
I was a little bit confused about the geography of this, but I'm looking at the map now. That is no. I think they would be able to cross that. It's quite a small sea from the edge of Alaska.
But, like, was this always the plan? Or were they supposed to take, like, a boat
I think
or something?
Surely they were meant to take a boat.
Yeah. It's like, obviously, Russia would be the next stop on their trip.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
They take it a roundabout way. They take it so that they don't need any other vehicle other than the cars, which is very funny.
Very funny. Yeah, so they go to Russia. I do love the scenes of them driving through Russia as just silent crowds.
Yeah.
Stuff until Dubois starts speaking in Russian. We don't really spend that much time in Russia. We very quickly move on to Central Europe. We get a very risque scene, because at this point, right after they land in Russia, Professor Fate kidnaps Maggie. He kidnaps her because he's like, well, to win over the great Leslie, we need something that he wants so that we can blackmail him. So they kidnap Maggie. We get a bathing scene with her, and I know that at this point James Bond's already a thing, so movies are getting quite risque, but this was a very risque scene for
absolutely
a family movie in the 60s. Like,
yep.
Oh my.
Something for the dads in the audience. Just what I'm saying.
I hate that term. So it's something for the bloody dads in the theater.
Something for the men in the audience,
Yeah. So yeah, they drive through Russia. They end up somewhere near like Latvia, Sweden, in that kind of area. They end up in a place called Carpania, which is my favorite made-up Eastern European country. They end up in Carpania, where, Zach, there's a prince, and the prince is Jack Sparrow without the scoundrelness, as we mentioned before. It's Professor Fate, but if he was drunk, and so they kidnap Professor Fate, and they plan on putting him in charge, on making him king so that they can control the country better. There's a conspiracy. The movie literally stops for 40 minutes so we get a different movie.
Yeah! But it's a good movie. I like this movie in our movie. It's a good movie.
I don't mind it. I think it's pretty fun.
You got the king, who looks exactly like Professor Fate.
Exactly.
He does have an iconic laugh. He's like, but like in their scene where they're introduced, he like makes a joke, and then like he like gets the audience, which is his court, to like laugh at his joke. He like gets he is where to laugh as well, which is very funny.
That was very funny.
It was a mild joke, and then he like makes everyone laugh with him, and I was like, this is very funny.
He's great. I think just the actor is
absolutely.
He's so funny. There's everything. There's a part that I always laugh at where he's like, I'm going to bed now. Who's going to tuck me in? Who's going to tuck me in? I want you to tuck me in because your tucking is sloppy. It's so stupid.
Yeah. He's a little camp, and I like it. I like his little campiness as well. It's very fun.
And so yeah, we get this whole other movie about conspiracy theories and stuff. They kidnap everyone. There's a scene where they take the strongman to a dungeon, and it's just the Princess Bride torture scene.
Yeah. Then Max gets Leslie to come and help break out Professor Fate, but it's not Professor Fate, it's actually the king.
It's actually the king.
Who he thinks is the Professor Fate, and then he bumps into Baron Roffey.
Yes.
And then we have a bit of a fight scene, a bit of a tango of the blades.
This is the scene that this movie had a lot of advertising around. This is a very famous scene.
Sorry, I'm laughing already.
This is one of the most famous scenes in this movie.
This has the funniest ending to any sword fight I have ever seen. I have never laughed so hard.
So we get a scene that's a parody of the Robin Hood movie we did.
Yeah. I was like, this is pretty good.
Which apparently I haven't seen Robin Hood Men in Tights, but my partner has, and she mentioned that. That movie parodies the Robin Hood movie we did on the podcast this year, but then also parodies the parodies of that movie, which is this movie. And make its own parody.
That's crazy.
Which is just this one scene being parodied like fucking 10 times.
That's amazing.
So funny.
Imagine being like a moviegoer back then and seeing these like twisted turns. It's like, I get that reference. That would have been crazy.
Well, that's kind of what we're like now with the Matrix scene, I think. Just constantly getting parodied. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Like other references. That's the whole like Marvel movies like referencing themselves. It's like, I get that reference. You know, that's the whole thing. This is what that was early on. Early on, it was just like parodying. It would be like directors and actors and other things making scenes and stuff of movies they had seen because they had enjoyed film and watched movies, and they go like, hey, let's remake this scene, but like make fun of it and stuff.
Exactly,
like, that's what reference was back in the day.
But Zach, how does this epic fight scene end? Which, by the way, the fight scene's pretty good. It's a solid fight scene. Yeah.
Going off the first fencing scene with Maggie, their sword fight was pretty poor, so I wasn't expecting much.
No.
But this scene actually had some good sword fighting in it. They clash, like Leslie even takes a cut.
Yep.
But eventually it showed that Leslie is the better sword fighter, so Baron Roffey runs away. He literally runs away, and Leslie's like, "You're running away?" And he's like, "Run away to live another day." And I'm like, you know what? That's solid logic. I would do the same.
That's fair. He doesn't just run away, Zach, though. He runs to the window just like Professor Fate did at the start of the movie, like a Batman villain.
But not only that, he has the funniest scene in the fucking movie. Where he goes to the balcony, they have this thing, he opens the window and he says, "I have a boat waiting for me." And then he swan dives. He full on face first into the boat down below, which is 2 stories down. And he just smashes the boat. The boat's gone. He just destroys the boat.
And we never see them again, so I guess they're dead.
No, he dies.
It is one of the funniest scenes in the movie. I'm glad you also thought it was funny, because I just cracked. It's such a stupid scene.
It was so unexpected. I had to replay the scene because I'm like, wait, what? What just fucking happened? He just wanted both dead, gone. Just epic fails. What was his plan?
It's hilarious. It's so good.
Dead. It was so bad.
And then after that, we get another fight scene, incredibly epic. And I don't think it's ever been outdone in a movie, but it's the biggest pie fight ever committed to film. I don't think it's ever been outdone.
It's just random, Professor Fate gets discovered that he's not the king.
Yeah.
He's an imposter, so he runs away, but they chase him into a bakery.
Yes.
And they just start fucking tossing cakes and pies and other things. And it's this is a 10-minute scene of them just food fighting for no reason.
Well, it's food fighting, but the great Leslie gets nothing on it.
Yeah,
the whole time.
That's great. Of course, because he has his pristine coat. But yeah, then Dubois comes in and she immediately takes her shirt off. And then everyone just gets covered in food. The king gets splattered in the face by a brandy cake.
More brandy, throw more brandy.
More brandy? Yes, yeah, which is great.
Ooh, rum, I never mix my cakes.
Oh. But
it's so stupid. It's such a stupid scene. So then they head off on the road. The prince is now back in power. They have stopped the uprising. He says, I hope you win, which is another thing that for some reason I say sometimes, apparently. We then get, so Leslie and Maggie are then having a break by a river. And we get a scene where she's playing a song, she's singing a song, and he's shaving. And because this movie can't have a moment not be a joke, this song that she's, it's like a nice romantic song. She's a great singer. Obviously, she was in West Side Story.
Oh,
she's
absolutely.
singing to him. It's romantic. It's great. There's just a karaoke thing on the bottom of the screen. for no reason. And I don't... Surely this wasn't a popular song.
No, but maybe people sang along with the movie.
Maybe.
If you'd seen the movie before, maybe you'd sing along at the end, Maybe that was the whole idea. It had a bit of a sing-along thing. I think it was fun. I was like, oh, that's all right.
I enjoyed it. I think it's good fun. And
it's very silly, though.
And then he tries to kiss her, and then she's like, fuck you, actually. And then he says, what's probably my favorite line in the movie, you're the most unreasonable, inconsistent female. The most incel line. I love it.
Oh,
it's very
absolutely.
funny.
He's super incel. That's it. He's like what every incel thinks they are, actually, in real life.
Yes.
They're good at everything. And they try and get the girl, but she keeps rejecting him for quote unquote no reason, and he's like, you're the most inconsistent female.
So stupid.
He's going on 4chan tonight, just being like, the fucking feminist movement did blah, 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 blah.
Everybody can stop my race. So then they go to Paris, they're driving, they see the finish line, and Leslie's like, I love you. To prove I love you, I'm not gonna win the race. And then Professor Fate, he wins the race.
Yeah. I was not expecting Professor Fate to win the race. So I was like, yay! He did it! He won the race! The good character won!
But then he gets angry because he's like, oh, but you let me win the race. You cheated! You cheated!
Essentially, yes. He cheated him from a proper victory.
Yep.
Because, going back to my theory, Professor Fate isn't in it for the win. He just wants to take Leslie down a peg. But of course, if Leslie lets him win, Leslie's not being taken down a peg.
Exactly.
Because he let him win. And that's the whole point of Professor Fate's thing, is he wants to take this dumb incel fucking idiot down a peg, right? And he doesn't manage to do that. And he's like, damn it, I challenge you to another race with a rematch.
With the rematch. And then it's Paris to New York. It's the same race backwards.
Yeah.
They start off on the race, and
but when they drive off, when Dubois and Leslie drive off, it has just married.
Yeah, they were married. They got married. I do like the scene where she throws her bouquet and Max catches it and then goes to kiss Professor Fate. Because Max is in love with him, and I think that's really nice. I think that's really sweet.
Good old Maxi boy. And then it has the best ending of any film of all time.
You'd say this is the best ending of any movie?
I think this is the best ending that's ever happened. Because they end it, and then it's like, Max is like, but they've gone, Professor. We should go after them. What are you doing? And Professor Fate is like, I'm going to play this race my way. And he pulls out he presses the button for the cannon. The cannon goes off. We cut to a vision of Paris. And we see the Eiffel Tower just collapse as they shot the Eiffel Tower.
They destroy the Eiffel Tower and the movie ends.
And that's the end of the movie.
That's very funny.
And I'm like, yay!
And that is the whole... I think we mentioned everything I wanted to mention. We went through a lot of this
absolutely.
movie. Oh, there's one scene I wanted to mention when... Dubois is being arrested. She starts talking about how great America is, and she starts to sing the American anthem.
Oh yeah,
and the soundtrack just switches to the American anthem. I just thought that was very funny.
Oh, it was very silly. It was very stupid. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Anyway, that is The Great Race. Check this out. Go watch it. It's good fun. It is a very, I was expecting it to be nostalgic, but I wasn't expecting it to be actually good.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
It was a good movie. Again, it suffers a bit from the time, racism, and, trying to be feminist, but not.
Well, the thing is, it makes the feminist stuff a joke.
Yeah, that's the problem, right?
Which is like, I don't know how, I don't know.
Yeah. That is the problem with it. It doesn't take it very seriously, but it is like pro-feminist, except for the main character, who's like, I don't get this feminist stuff.
He's just a big incel, yeah.
Yeah, he's just an incel.
Hello! Welcome to 100 Horrors, a comedy podcast that seeks to rank the best 100 horror films of all time, as dictated to us by a poster that one of us owns.
Every week, we bicker over another film in an attempt to give it an overall scare factor and secure its place in the 100 Horrors list.
With features such as... But at least I won't die like that. And...
What would you say to them at the funeral?
We take a light-hearted approach to horror cinema so that it can be enjoyed by even the most squeamish of listeners. So whether you're the person who's never seen a horror film in their life, or the person who has a tattoo of Leatherface on the right arse cheek, there's something to be enjoyed in every episode of 100 Horrors!
Let's come up with a sequel.
Yeah.
Or no, we're not.
We're not?
We're not coming up with a sequel. We're coming up with a remake.
We're coming up with a remake. That's right. Because we need to remake this to, 1, take out the racism. 2, probably make it actually pro-feminist.
Yeah. And we're going to remake this movie from the ground up. Immediately, my first thought was for a director, because he's done high-budget stuff before, but he's also really good at comedy, is we get Rian Johnson in.
Rian Johnson?
Because I kind of feel like his characters in, like, Knives Out, particularly Glass Onion, are very silly.
Oh, yeah?
And, he has done Last Jedi, so he can do... He can do high-budget stuff. I don't know who should direct this. I don't want to get someone who did Fast and the Furious. I think that's the wrong sort of vibe.
No. I want a comedy director.
Yeah.
I want, like, comedy. I don't know. I haven't seen much of Rian Johnson.
Okay. Who's a good comedy director then?
Tom Gormican.
Tom Gormican, director of...
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
That's a good comedy. He is also directing Beverly Hills Cop 4, which is meant to be out soon.
Yeah. See what my thinking is? It's like real life comedies, It's got the realistic thing, and it's also got a bit of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's got a bit of a car chase.
It's car chase. It's an action movie as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's what I'm thinking. That's exactly the sort of vibe I'm looking for,
And if anyone can direct Nicolas Cage and get that sort of performance out of him, where he's basically playing himself, Yep, I agree. I think that's a good one.
You know what we have to do then, Sandro? We have to make Nick Cage as Leslie.
I don't think as Leslie. I think maybe as the bad guy.
Oh, yeah. As Professor Fate, absolutely. Oh, because then we could put a big mustache on Nicolas Cage, like a massive mustache, and he could just be acting like a goofy villain the whole time. Hell yeah.
That's very far. All right, well, that's an instant lock-in.
Absolutely. Bam, bam. Wham, bam, thank you, Cage. I'm going to throw this out to you. We're making a remake. I want to make fun of this film a bit as well. I say we make Leslie like an unlikable hero.
100% he's the worst.
The movie's making fun of the fact that he's just an arrogant douchebag.
Well, here's my thoughts for the great Leslie is... He's a really good actor. Unfortunately, he got screwed a bit by the movie Solo being terrible, but Alden Ehrenreich, who does play young Han Solo, I think has the sort of vibe that we would want for a great Leslie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like this guy. I like some of the stuff he's been. Yeah, absolutely.
He's great in Oppenheimer. He's great in Hail Caesar. Cocaine Bear, recently he's in that as well. He's very funny.
I would love him to be like handsome douchebag who's had everything, because he's really talented at everything he does, so he's really arrogant, and like he's had everything like handed to him on a silver platter.
I think that's great. I am like, he's 30, Nicolas Cage is 60. There's like a 30-year gap between their rivalry, but I think that's still kind of funny.
That's true.
Because that means that like Nicolas Cage, he just wants a win.
Yeah. Like, that's the whole thing, is like we could have it so Nick Cage, he was the big star, the big hero of, like, he did races and stuff, you know, but he's like the old guard, and so Leslie's the new upcoming young talent who's also an arrogant prick, and so they can talk about that, you know, there's this whole thing where it's like, well, he's a douchebag, and he's been known to cheat a little bit, you know, like, so, yeah, he just wants to take Leslie down a peg.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is good.
Other characters, I mean, Max, obviously, Hezekiah. I think for Maggie, who would be a good Maggie?
Jennifer Lawrence? She would be pretty good.
I can see Jennifer Lawrence playing Maggie. Yeah, I don't... Yeah, I can see that working. I mean, she's back in comedies now.
Yeah.
I can see that working, definitely. Do we want Maggie and Leslie to get together at the end?
No. That's the whole point, is, like, the movie builds up to it. Like, that's going to be the ending, but then it's like, no, she doesn't want any of him.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, no, you're an obnoxious douchebag. I also want her to win the fencing thing.
Max, Mr. Max. We need someone for Nicolas Cage to yell at constantly. What about the guy from Sorcerer's Apprentice, who is the Sorcerer's Apprentice? He's also the voice of Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon. Jay Baruchel? Jay Baruchel. Oh, he was in the Blackberry movie. He's still acting. I think he's funny. We get, like, Hiccup in. The voice actor of Hiccup. And he's been in a Nicolas Cage movie before. He was in Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah. He's not bad. You could also go the main lead from Renfield.
Nicholas Hoult. Yeah, Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult's funny.
Nicholas Hoult, because he did that whole, like... They literally had that relationship with Dracula, was the abuser, right? That was literally their thing.
That's kind of fun. Nicholas Hoult is good. We could go Jonah
Hill?
We don't like Jonah Hill anymore. I mean, we've already put Jennifer Lawrence in this, though. I mean, she's also not the best. Could go Josh Gad, but he's annoying.
Well, like, I'm thinking we got, like, a bit of a meek, nerdy character sort of thing is what I'm thinking. So, like... I like Jay Baruchel.
Jay Baruchel.
I'm wondering what to do with his arc, though, right? Because he's the push the button guy, right? Maybe we can make it he's like the genius behind the wacky gadgets. Although Professor Fate's probably the one who makes it, because he's literally a professor.
I like that idea, though. Well, I mean, Professor Fate can be his stage name, and Max is the guy who does everything.
Yeah. Well, he could still be a professor, but maybe they work together, and that's the whole thing. Jay's there because they work together on these wacky projects. They combine their wits to build things together, and that's why he's here. But he's also, like, maybe he's not a butler. Maybe he is literally just, like, a fellow professor guy, and they work on things together. I think maybe that's the thing.
I think that's a good idea, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Hezekiah. We need someone for Hezekiah. That's the only other real main character that we need to put in this. John Cena, I guess, is funny.
That is very funny.
John Cena would be funny, but I think he's too much. He's got too much charisma. He would take too much away, I think, from the movie.
You know who I want, Sandro. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna do it. We're getting a strong character. It's Tom Hopper.
Tom Hopper as Hezekiah.
He would be. I'm just saying, he would be really good in this spot. He would be kind of perfect. He'd be kind of great.
All right, we'll put Tom Hopper in as Hezekiah. Well, there we go. That's our remake of The Great Race. That's I think this is fun.
But it's crucial. It's crucial at the end of the film. We still blow up the Eiffel Tower. It's crucial.
We've got to do it. Is it set in the turn of the century? Do we still set it then?
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's fun. Because you can have all the wacky cars and other things like that. But we can make... I think we make more fun of it.
You know what I just realized?
What's up?
The Great Race inspired Wacky Races, which is Hanna-Barbera. What also is Hanna-Barbera is Scooby-Doo. And in this movie, in the scene where Dubois goes to see Professor Fate and they get chased by dogs, the dogs that are chasing them is the same sort of dog that Scooby-Doo is. It's the same breed as Scooby-Doo.
Whoa.
That's pretty... Can't be a coincidence. This can't be a coincidence.
Anyway. Can't be a coincidence.
That's the whole bloody episode right there on The Great Race. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, what a fun episode. What a fun movie. What a fun time.
We'll keep the fun times going as you pick next week's movie from 1966 before we get to that. Thanks to everyone who has reviewed us on Apple Podcasts. Thanks to everyone who's reviewed us on Spotify. It really helps the show. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed to us over on patreon.com/oldiebuddygoodypod, where there's a brand new episode out right now because, Zach, it is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. And so we reviewed Doctor Who and the Daleks, which is a terrible movie that we watched. So that's up on Patreon. Is that out? I don't know if that's out now or if that's already been. When the fuck is this? What is time?
Who knows? What? Oh, a bit timey-wimey, wouldn't you say there, Sandra?
That episode is out right now. Go check it out on patreon.com/oldiebuddygoodyplod.
You see, Sandra is from the future, so he doesn't know when this is exactly coming out, you know? It's like, it's all timey-wimey, you know? He doesn't know what the timeline's lining up to be.
Yeah, well,
that's it.
Well, it's time for you to pick the next movie.
Well, speaking of the Eiffel Tower collapsing, is Paris burning?
Oh, is that a movie that came out?
Yeah, it's near the end of World War II, and it's about the Oh no, this isn't funny. This is serious. Maybe not that one.
Maybe not that one. What about you do A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum?
Oh,
which is a musical about a Roman slave trying to be free. That might not actually be that funny. Actually, now that I look at it.
What about Django?
Unchained?
No, the old original version, which is probably actually very racist.
Almost definitely. Speaking of racist westerns, you could do The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which did come out in 1966. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That would be really... That's... Okay, The Good, and Bad, and the Ugly is... my favorite so far. Mm-hmm. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Oh, yeah, now that's a classic. That's a classic. That's a classic. That's a great title as well. You've got Fahrenheit 451, another classic. Fantastic Voyage, which is a movie about a scientist and his crew are shrunk down inside a submarine and injected into someone's bloodstream to try and save him. Hey, we've watched a film like that before. Yeah, very similar to whatever the fuck that movie was called that we did a couple years ago. Ooh, what about How to Steal $1 Million? Oh, I'd love to know. Which is a bunch of people, they steal and forge art. But no, Sandro, those all sound good, especially The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like, that sounds really good because we need to do more Western. But, Sandra, the real pick, the only real choice I have, my hand's tied. I literally can't get out unless I had some sort of wacky gizmo in my belt. But unfortunately, I don't have a belt because you know who has a belt? Who has a belt? It's Batman! Oh! No. Batman the movie. Oh my god, Batman the movie. Batman 66, the Batman movie. Kapow! The description starts off with a kapowie. Holy feature film, Batman. Oh my god. That's the best opening line for a fucking description of a movie I've ever seen. That's incredible. Yes, Batman the movie, the classic 1966 movie. Oh my god. You're going you took my slightly camp and you're going full camp next week. Yeah, I'm going full camp. I was about to say this is based on the very campy 1960s television series with goofy like cloth costumes and ridiculous gadgets. This is a fun idea. I've always wanted to watch this movie. So get your shark repellent ready for next week because we're watching Batman the movie. I can't wait to do some Batmaning next week on podcast. But now, Zach, we got to end the episode. Oh yeah, we're still in a bar. We are still in a bar. This is the best. We should record more things in bars while I'm drinking beers and still handcuffed to the counter. You are still handcuffed. That's true. Yeah. All right. I'll leave this feminist movement to continue. One more pint of Guinness, please, bartender. We don't serve that here. I don't know why you keep asking for that. Fine. I brought my own keg. There we go. Glug, glug, glug. This is a BYO. What the fuck? It tastes like a mixture between VB and Vegemite. I love it. That sounds fucking awful. You know what? Fuck you. Fuck this plate even. Oh my god, the plate is destroyed.
No, not plates.
Not plates.
We need to keep those intact because of the episodes. Because of the lore. No.